Good morning, fifth grade. Happy Friday. I wish I could be sharing this wonderful Friday morning with you, but we're just going to have to make this work. Please definitely send me Jupiter messages if you've got questions about our work, or if you just want to check in, if you've been taking a walk outside and you see something cool that you want to share with me. I've definitely been enjoying some walks down Ridge Avenue toward Kelly Drive. I'm loving seeing all of the trees coming into bloom. So definitely just, you can take pictures and send those to me and I'll help you figure out what it is, or just sharing your curiosity, because I definitely miss seeing you guys out at recess and talking about all of those different things that we find on campus and out in the outdoors. What we're going to do today is we're going to go over page 118 and page 119 in your blue book. So those are the answers to practice C and practice D. And then I'm going to tell you a little bit about your assignment for the day. So what we're going to do, we're going to look at practice C, which is on page 118. And as we go through that, I'm going to read the passage all the way through. And I'm just going to read it with the corrected verbs in there. If, as you're reading along, you're reading closely, you're reading carefully, you're tracking along with your hand, give yourself some snaps. If when we get to those mistakes, you've caught them, or if as we're reading, you recognize that maybe you missed it on that first pass, and you can go ahead and correct it as we're going. So I'm going to read nice and slow so that you can, again, give yourself those snaps if you recognize an error that you've already corrected, or if as you're reading, you recognize an error that you missed and you can correct it now. Her real name was Mary Hayes, but soldiers knew her as Molly Pitcher. The date was June 28, 1778. The event was the Battle of Monmouth in New Jersey. Mary had ridden there with her husband, William. His job was to fire a cannon. The temperature was 100 degrees. Hot winds blew across the battlefield. During the fighting, Mary carried pitcher after pitcher of water to the thirsty soldiers. They all spoke fondly of Molly Pitcher. At one point, Molly looked over at her husband. He had fallen to the ground. He had broken his leg when a British shell had blown up near him. Ooh, that one was tricky. Fortunately, Molly knew how to fire the cannon. She threw down her pitcher. Instead of carrying water, Molly fired William's cannon for the rest of the battle. She had worn a long skirt that day, but she served as a brave soldier. Molly helped the Americans win the Battle of Monmouth. Even General Washington spoke highly of her bravery. Go ahead and take a look at the bottom of page 118. Did you find and correct 9 errors with irregular verbs? Scanning back through, I see we corrected a couple of examples of know to knew. We saw ridden, we saw blew and blown a couple of times, threw, broken, fallen, spoke, worn. Almost all of those verbs we saw in the chart on page 116, we got a chance to correct on this page. So if you found that you didn't quite get some of those, just go ahead back to that chart on page 116 and double check. Remember, you're looking to see if they have those helping verbs, changing the form, usually with that N at the end, had ridden, had fallen, had broken, had worn. And then if there's not that have, has, or had, you're just going to use that past tense, which is in your second column. Now let's go ahead and take a look at page 119. Just like earlier in the week on practice D, you don't need to use the exact word that I've used in this section. You need to use the same form, because again, either it matches up with have, has, or had, or it's the regular past tense form. But as we're going through, some other verbs from page 118 or 116, or some verbs from page 112 might fit in there. So you're welcome to have other words, they just need to be the same form. Many people have spoken about Paul Revere. A famous poem tells how this hero rode his horse from Boston to Concord on April 18, 1775. Revere's warning, "The British are coming," broke the silence of the night. Farmers who had fallen asleep woke up. Thanks to Revere, they knew the British soldiers were on the way. Paul Revere is famous. Until recently, however, few Americans have known about William Dawes and Samuel Prescott. No one has sung songs or written poems about them. Yet both Dawes and Prescott had ridden their horses out of Boston with Revere that same April night. Their cries had rung through the night too. Without Dawes and Prescott, American patriots might not have known that the struggle for freedom had begun. Now again, you might have some different words in there, so I invite you absolutely to send me a message through Google Classroom or through Jupyter, just to let me know what you wrote in there so that I can share some of that amazing wisdom later this week and next week. Now, time for your next assignment. In Google Classroom, you're going to go where it says Grammar Workshop Blue Books. There's going to be one assignment in there in addition to the YouTube videos from the week. That assignment is going to be some irregular verbs practice. So you're going to use the 10 verbs that are on the top of that list, and you're going to write a little story using the past tense forms of those. So I'll be looking out for the correct forms. Remember, you can check for those forms on page 112 and on page 116 in your blue books. And go ahead and just hit turn in or submit when you're ready. If you're doing this on a packet, just make sure that you're still checking for those complete forms. I won't be able to see it and give you feedback as quickly, but hopefully you'll still be able to get the gist. I hope you have a wonderful weekend, and I can't wait to see you all soon.